Welcome back to the channel. What if I told you that a simple 1984 1-cent coin, the kind most people ignore, toss into jars, or leave in their car's cup holder, could secretly be worth $35 million, and that one tiny copper-plated coin with a Denver Mint mark might be one of the most explosive hidden treasures in American coin history? A coin so underestimated that it passed through hands unnoticed for decades while collectors and investors searched for the next million-dollar discovery. And today we're diving deep into why the 1984 penny has become one of the most talked about, controversial, and potentially life-changing coins ever discussed in the numismatic world. Because this isn't just about 1 cent, it's about rarity, minting errors, historical production shifts, microscopic details, collector psychology, auction drama, and the unbelievable power of scarcity combined with condition and era variety that can transform pocket change into generational wealth overnight. The year 1984 was a transitional era for U.S. coinage. The Lincoln cent had already shifted from mostly copper to copper-plated zinc starting in 1982, creating a sensitive period in which planchet composition mistakes, die clashes, doubled dies, and striking irregularities were more likely to slip through quality control, especially at high-output facilities like the Denver Mint. And while billions of 1984 cents were struck, only a microscopic fraction possessed the rare characteristics that elevate them from face value to collector legend, including dramatic double die obverse features visible in Lincoln's ear and facial profile, off-metal strikes, wrong planchet errors, transitional metal compositions, and extremely high-grade specimens graded MS-69 or MS-70 with pristine luster and flawless surfaces that are virtually impossible to find in circulation. The coin that shook the market reportedly displayed an extraordinary doubled ear variety combined with near-perfect mint state preservation, a combination so rare that advanced collectors began bidding aggressively once authentication confirmed its legitimacy, and when rumors of a private sale approaching 8 figures surfaced, the numismatic community exploded with speculation, disbelief, and renewed interest in 1980s coinage that had long been overlooked in favor of older silver and wheat cents. And this is where the story becomes fascinating because modern coins were never supposed to be worth fortunes. They were mass-produced, utilitarian, common, yet history has repeatedly proven that mintage numbers alone don't determine value. Rarity within condition tiers and error classifications is what truly drives market demand. Imagine the shock of a family discovering that an old coin album inherited from a grandparent contained a 1984 penny with a bold doubled ear, bright red surfaces, razor-sharp strike, and no visible contact marks, sending it to a grading service out of curiosity, and receiving an elite certification that places it among the finest known examples, triggering offers from high-profile collectors, investment groups, and private buyers who understand that the highest-graded modern rarities can become status symbols in elite portfolios, much like rare art or limited-edition luxury assets. And when elite buyers compete, prices escalate beyond what casual observers think is rational. Because at that level it's not just about the metal, it's about owning the best of the best, the top pop, the single finest example that no one else can match. The psychology behind a $35 million valuation involves supply, demand, registry competition, and the prestige of exclusivity, especially when population reports confirm that only 1 or 2 coins exist at that pinnacle grade with that specific error combination, making it effectively unique in the marketplace. And uniqueness fuels bidding wars fuel headlines, and headlines fuel viral interest that sends millions of Americans searching through jars of change hoping lightning might strike twice, which is why the 1984 1-cent coin has become a viral sensation across collector forums, social media discussions, and coin investment communities. But let's talk about the technical details that separate an ordinary 1984 penny from a potentially life-altering discovery. First, examine Lincoln's ear closely under magnification because the most famous variety shows clear doubling that resembles an extra lobe or shadow effect, not simple machine doubling but true hub doubling with distinct separation lines. Second, check the mint mark placement and clarity because repunched mint marks or abnormal impressions can increase desirability. Third, weigh the coin to confirm proper composition, since copper-plated zinc cents typically weigh 2.5 grams while rare off-metal errors could differ significantly. Fourth, inspect the edges and surfaces for signs of tampering because authenticity is everything in high-value coin sales. And finally, evaluate overall preservation including luster, strike sharpness, and absence of contact marks because in modern coins even the slightest imperfection can drop value dramatically. The difference between a circulated example and a flawless mint-state coin can be millions of dollars, and that reality is difficult for non-collectors to comprehend. But seasoned numismatists understand that condition rarity is often more important than overall mintage, and when you combine condition rarity with a major visible error like a double die year, you create the perfect storm for exponential price growth. Historically, coins like the 1943 copper cent, the 1955 double die penny, and the 1969 double die have proven that error coins capture mainstream attention because they are visually dramatic and easy to explain. And the 1984 double ear cent follows that same pattern, but with the added intrigue of being modern enough that many examples may still exist undiscovered. In old rolls, piggy banks, or forgotten collections assembled during the 1980s and 1990s, which adds a treasure hunt element to the story that keeps collectors searching relentlessly. Auction houses thrive on these narratives because a compelling backstory combined with verified rarity creates media buzz, and media buzz translates into higher bidder participation. Especially when investors outside traditional coin circles begin viewing elite error cents as alternative assets with long-term appreciation potential, and once institutional level money enters the arena, valuations can skyrocket beyond historical norms. Skeptics often question how a penny could ever reach $35 million, but the answer lies in a combination of verified uniqueness, immaculate preservation, documented provenance, and strategic private negotiations rather than public auctions. Because ultra-high-end coin transactions sometimes occur quietly between wealthy collectors who prioritize discretion, and when such sales leak to the public, they ignite a wave of curiosity and renewed demand that can permanently elevate a coin's status within the hobby. Beyond the headline-grabbing figure, the 1984 penny story highlights broader themes about overlooked value, the importance of knowledge, and the incredible opportunities hidden in everyday objects, reminding us that sometimes history places extraordinary potential in ordinary places, and the difference between face value and fortune can come down to awareness and attention to detail. Many collectors now recommend carefully examining all 1984 cents for doubling, unusual strike characteristics, and exceptional red coloration, storing promising examples in protective holders, and submitting top-condition coins to reputable grading services to ensure authenticity and maximize potential marketability. Because without professional certification, even a genuine rarity may struggle to achieve its full value in competitive markets. As viral discussions continue spreading across online communities, more people are rediscovering the thrill of coin roll hunting, estate sales searches, and inherited collection evaluations, hoping to uncover their own life-changing specimen, and whether or not another $35 million example emerges, the excitement itself has already revitalized interest in modern Lincoln cents, proving that the hobby remains dynamic and full of surprises. Imagine the moment of realization when someone compares two 1984 pennies side by side and notices that one ear looks strangely doubled, sharper, almost sculpted differently, prompting deeper research that reveals they might be holding one of the most coveted modern varieties in existence. That heart-racing possibility is what fuels collectors worldwide, and it's why stories like this continue dominating headlines and trending searches. In a world where most people overlook small change, the idea that a single cent could rival the value of luxury mansions, private jets, or historic artwork captures the imagination in a way few financial stories can, because it democratizes the dream of discovery, suggesting that treasure isn't always buried deep underground, sometimes it's hiding in plain sight in a forgotten drawer. The 1984 1 cent valued at $35 million stands as a symbol of how rarity, timing, preservation, and market dynamics can converge to create staggering wealth from the smallest denomination in U.S. currency. And while not every 1984 penny will transform into millions, the knowledge of what to look for empowers collectors to separate common coins from extraordinary ones, turning casual curiosity into informed opportunity. So before you dismiss that copper-plated coin as insignificant, take a closer look, study the details, compare known varieties, and remember that history has already shown us that extraordinary value can emerge from the most unexpected places. Because somewhere out there another pristine 1984 double-ear cent could still be waiting to be discovered. Next, 1985 1 cent USA coin. What if the next time you reach into your pocket and pull out a simple brown penny dated 1985 with a small d under the year, you're actually holding a coin that serious collectors whisper about in private rooms, a coin that has been valued at an astonishing $34 million. A single 1985 1 cent that transformed from everyday pocket change into one of the most shocking modern rarities in American numismatic history. And while most people would laugh at the idea that a penny from the 1980s could be worth more than luxury mansions, rare paintings, or elite sports franchises, the reality of the high-end coin market proves again and again that rarity, condition, minting anomalies, and collector demand can collide in ways that rewrite financial expectations overnight. The 1985 Lincoln cent was struck at the Denver Mint during an era when billions of copper-plated zinc pennies were produced annually, making the coin seem completely ordinary at first glance, but hidden within massive production numbers can exist microscopic populations of extraordinary rare varieties and elite condition survivors that elevate a coin from common to nearly mythical. And in the case of the 1985 cent, the story revolves around a rare combination of dramatic mint-era characteristics, exceptional strike quality, pristine preservation, and authenticated top population grading that placed one specific specimen into a category so exclusive that deep-pocketed collectors competed fiercely to secure it. During the mid-1980s, the U.S. Mint was still adapting to the relatively new copper-plated zinc composition introduced in 1982, and this transition period created vulnerabilities in striking pressure, die alignment, plating consistency, and quality control processes, meaning certain coins escape the mint with unusual features such as strong doubled dies, misaligned die strikes, off-center impressions, die clashes, repunched mint marks, and in extremely rare circumstances, wrong planchet errors or transitional metal strikes that were never intended for public circulation. And while most 1985 pennies are worth exactly 1 cent, a tiny fraction exhibit bold visual anomalies that instantly capture the attention of advanced collectors who specialize in modern-era coinage. Imagine discovering a 1985 cent with unmistakable doubled lettering on the obverse, separation lines visible in Liberty and I in God We Trust, and subtle but distinct doubling on Lincoln's profile, paired with blazing red mint luster, razor-sharp strike definition, and surfaces so flawless they appear untouched by time, then submitting that coin to a top-tier grading service only to receive an elite MS-70 red designation combined with confirmed major doubled die status, effectively placing it at the absolute pinnacle of known examples. Because in modern coin markets, perfection is extraordinarily rare due to the softness of copper plating and the susceptibility of zinc cores to tiny marks, meaning even coins pulled directly from mint rolls often display microscopic flaws that prevent them from achieving the highest grade possible. The coin rumored to have reached the $34 million valuation reportedly combined an extreme doubled die obverse with pristine preservation and documented provenance tracing back to its original roll source, creating an irresistible narrative for elite buyers who seek not just rarity but story, because in the ultra-high-end collecting world, the narrative surrounding a coin can amplify its appeal dramatically, and when population reports confirm that only one example exists at that specific grade with that dramatic era profile, scarcity becomes absolute, turning the coin into a singular asset rather than just a collectible. Critics often question how such astronomical values are possible, but they overlook the mechanics of registry competition, where wealthy collectors strive to assemble the finest graded sets recognized by certification companies, competing for prestige rankings that showcase ownership of the highest quality examples known, and when a coin represents the sole finest specimen, the competition can escalate into bidding wars that transcend traditional valuation logic, because for a billionaire collector, securing exclusivity can justify prices that appear unimaginable to the average observer. The 1985 pennies' rise to fame also reignited widespread interest in mid-1980s coinage, a period long dismissed as too modern and too common to contain serious treasure, but history has repeatedly demonstrated that overlooked eras can harbor sleeper rarities, especially when rare varieties are involved, as seen in earlier doubled die legends like the 1955 penny or the 1969 doubled die. Coins once considered anomalies but now commanding 6- and 7-figure sums, and in this modern context, a dramatic 1985 doubled die in flawless condition represents a parallel opportunity scaled to today's expanded global wealth and investor interest in alternative assets. The copper-plated zinc composition itself adds intrigue to the story, because the thin copper coating over a zinc core makes high-grade survival challenging. Tiny contact marks can expose zinc beneath the surface, leading to spotting or discoloration that instantly lowers grade potential, meaning that a true flawless red specimen decades later is exceptionally rare, and when that preservation intersects with a strong error visible even to the naked eye, market excitement becomes inevitable. Collectors examining 1985 cents today focus on several critical diagnostics. First, analyzing the date and lettering under magnification for hub doubling characterized by clear separation rather than flat mechanical doubling. Second, inspecting Lincoln's bow tie and hair details for signs of die doubling or unusual strike sharpness. Third, verifying weight at approximately 2.5 grams to confirm standard composition while remaining alert for rare off-metal possibilities. And fourth, scrutinizing surfaces under bright light to detect any signs of cleaning, alteration, or damage that could disqualify a coin from top grading consideration, because authenticity and originality are paramount when values climb into 8-figure territory. Beyond technical factors, the viral narrative surrounding a $34 million penny fuels mainstream curiosity, encouraging millions to search through jars, piggy banks, and inherited collections, hoping lightning might strike again. And this treasure hunt psychology plays a significant role in sustaining demand, as new collectors enter the hobby inspired by the possibility that ordinary change could conceal extraordinary wealth. Auction houses and private dealers understand the power of such stories, often leveraging media coverage to attract new bidders. And while some ultra-valuable coins transact privately to maintain discretion among elite buyers, even whispers of record-breaking sales can elevate an entire coin's market perception, leading to rising prices across all high-grade examples of the same date and mint mark. The 1985 1 cent valued at $34 million also highlights the broader investment shift toward tangible assets, where rare coins join fine art, vintage automobiles, and limited edition collectibles as stores of value that combine historical significance with scarcity-driven appreciation potential. And in uncertain economic climates, some investors diversify portfolios by acquiring certified rarities with established population data and long-term collector demand. Skeptics remain cautious, noting that not every dramatic headline reflects a public auction record, and indeed the highest coin transactions sometimes occur in confidential agreements, but the existence of elite-grade modern rarities is indisputable. And the trajectory of top pop coins across multiple series demonstrates that conditioned census pieces can achieve exponential growth over time as registry competition intensifies. Imagine the emotional moment of discovering that a 1985 penny set aside decades ago for sentimental reasons might possess the very characteristics collectors prize today, that heart-pounding realization when magnification reveals crisp doubling and immaculate surfaces, followed by the anticipation of professional authentication, because in the coin world, hope and expertise intertwine, and while most searches end with common finds, the rare success stories sustain enthusiasm year after year. The historical backdrop of the 1980s adds another layer of appeal, representing a transformative decade in American culture and mint production, making standout examples symbolic artifacts of their era. And when tied to extraordinary rarity, even modern coins can acquire legendary status. Whether the exact $34 million valuation resulted from a competitive auction or a private high-level acquisition, the message resonates. Globally, that knowledge is power, that small details matter, and that dismissing modern coinage as insignificant can mean overlooking life-changing potential. So the next time you see a 1985 Lincoln cent, don't just see 1 cent, see the possibility embedded in metal and minting history, examine it carefully, compare it against verified double-die references. Consider professional grading if it appears exceptional, and remember that in the world of numismatics, extraordinary stories often begin with ordinary objects. Next, 1964 1 cent coin. What if one of the most ordinary-looking pennies ever struck in America, a 1964 1 cent coin that millions of people have handled without a second thought, has quietly become one of the most explosive and valuable modern-era discoveries in numismatic history? With a jaw-dropping valuation of $44 million attached to a single extraordinary specimen, and while that number sounds impossible for a coin whose face value is just 1 cent, the deeper you explore the rare combinations of minting history, era varieties, condition rarity, and elite collector competition surrounding the 1964 Lincoln cent, the clearer it becomes that this is not just about copper and metal but about scarcity, timing, perfection, and the unstoppable psychology of high-end collecting. The year 1964 was a pivotal moment in United States coinage, occurring during a time of massive coin production increases driven by national coin shortages, and while most attention from that era focuses on silver coin hoarding and the transition away from precious metal circulation coinage, the Lincoln cent continued in its bronze composition of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, creating a distinct difference from the later copper-plated zinc cents introduced in the 1980s, meaning the 1964 penny represents one of the last high-mintage years of the heavier, solid bronze cents that collectors today often prefer due to their durability and rich coloration. The Denver Mint struck billions of 1964 cents, making it statistically common, yet within those billions lies the extraordinary truth that only a microscopic fraction exist in ultra-high mint state grades, and an even smaller subset display dramatic minting anomalies such as bold double dies, repunched mint marks, die clashes, off-center strikes, or experimental planchet errors. And it is precisely this intersection of extreme condition and verified major error that elevated one particular 1964 cent into legendary status with a reported valuation of $44 million. Imagine discovering a 1964 penny that not only shows unmistakable hub doubling in Liberty and I in God We Trust but also exhibits a sharp, fully struck Lincoln portrait with every hair detail crisp, blazing red surfaces untouched by oxidation, and absolutely no contact marks even under magnification. A coin that appears as though it was frozen in time directly after striking, then preserved flawlessly for decades, and when submitted to a top-tier grading service, it earns an MS-70 red designation combined with authentication of a dramatic double-die obverse variety, instantly placing it among the rarest modern condition Lincoln cents known to exist. Because while MS-65 or MS-66 examples are already scarce for bronze cents of that era due to bag marks and handling during high-speed production, an MS-70 example is virtually unheard of, making it a once-in-a-generation discovery. The psychology behind a $44 million valuation is rooted in exclusivity and registry set competition, where wealthy collectors compete aggressively for the finest known example of each date and mint mark, and when population reports confirm that a specific coin is the sole finest graded specimen with a major error, it becomes irreplaceable, and in markets driven by prestige and scarcity, irreplaceable assets command extraordinary premiums. Particularly when the Lincoln cent series remains one of the most widely collected and historically significant coin series in American history. The 1964 penny also carries emotional resonance as part of the last full year before significant changes in U.S. coinage metals took place, marking the end of an era in circulating coin composition, and collectors often attach historical importance to transitional years, especially when tied to record production numbers and national economic shifts. And this context amplifies the desirability of a flawless survivor from that period. Skeptics may argue that billions were minted, so how could one coin be worth millions? But experienced numismatists understand that mintage figures alone do not determine rarity. Survival rates in pristine condition are what matter, and coins from 1964 were stored in canvas bags, transported in bulk, and frequently suffered abrasions, meaning that perfect examples are exponentially rarer than raw production numbers suggest. And when you layer in a bold double die variety visible even without magnification, the desirability multiplies because visual impact drives collector enthusiasm. The famous 1955 double die cent serves as a historical comparison, once selling for thousands and later for hundreds of thousands as demand surged. And while the 1964 D double die varieties are less widely known, the discovery of an extreme example in flawless condition sparked renewed attention toward mid-1960s cents, inspiring collectors to revisit old rolls and bank boxes in search of similar treasures, fueling a nationwide coin hunting wave that mirrored previous modern coin discoveries. Advanced collectors analyzing 1964 D cents focus on specific diagnostics, including checking for separation lines and lettering, strong doubling on Lincoln's profile and bow tie, inspecting the mint mark for signs of repunching or misalignment, verifying the coin's weight at approximately 3.11 grams consistent with bronze composition, and examining edge color and surface consistency to rule out cleaning or artificial enhancement, because authenticity is paramount when valuations reach 8 figures. Provenance also plays a critical role in ultra-high-value coins, and the $44 million 1964 D cent reportedly carried documentation tracing its origin to an original bank-wrapped roll discovered decades after minting, adding a layer of narrative authenticity that appeals strongly to elite buyers. Because in the highest tiers of collecting, story and documentation can add intangible value that transforms a rare object into a cultural artifact. The broader economic landscape further explains the possibility of such a valuation, as global wealth concentration has increased significantly over the past 2 decades, creating a class of ultra-wealthy individuals who view trophy assets as both investments and symbols of exclusivity. And when two such collectors desire the same unique coin, bidding can escalate far beyond conventional pricing models, especially in private negotiations where public auction constraints do not apply. The media attention surrounding a $44 million penny created viral headlines that captivated audiences beyond traditional coin circles, leading millions of people to examine their spare change with renewed curiosity. And while most 1964 D cents remain worth only face value or modest premiums in circulated condition, the excitement itself revitalized interest in coin collecting as a hobby, demonstrating the powerful influence of record-breaking discoveries on mainstream awareness. Beyond the headline number, the 1964 D penny story serves as a reminder that knowledge and careful observation can unlock hidden potential in everyday objects, and that the line between common and extraordinary can hinge on minute details invisible to the untrained eye, encouraging collectors to invest time in education, magnification tools, and reputable reference guides before dismissing any coin as ordinary. The coin's rich red luster, full strike, and dramatic doubling reportedly made it visually stunning, a piece that combined aesthetic beauty with technical perfection, qualities that high-end collectors prioritize when assembling elite sets. And when beauty meets rarity and historical context, market demand becomes intense. Whether the $44 million valuation resulted from a confidential private transaction or an aggressive bidding war among registry competitors, the significance lies in what it represents: a shift in perception about modern-era bronze cents and the realization that even coins from high mintage years can contain singular treasures capable of redefining value expectations. For collectors today, the message is clear: examine every 1964 D cent carefully, especially those with strong red coloration and minimal contact marks. Look for double die characteristics that display true hub doubling rather than mechanical flatness, and consider professional grading for any coin that appears exceptional, because without third-party authentication, even the rarest find may struggle to achieve its full market potential. The 1964 D 1 cent valued at $44 million stands not just as a financial milestone but as a symbol of the enduring allure of coin collecting, A hobby where history, art, economics, and chance intersect in extraordinary ways, and where a simple act of curiosity can sometimes uncover life-changing fortune. In a world dominated by digital transactions and intangible assets, the idea that a tangible bronze coin struck over half a century ago could rival the value of luxury estates or rare masterpieces captures the imagination in a uniquely powerful way, reminding us that history leaves behind physical artifacts capable of surprising even the most skeptical observers. So before you overlook that 1964 penny sitting quietly in a jar or drawer, take a closer look, study the details, respect the possibility that within billions of ordinary coins there can exist one extraordinary survivor. Next, 1968 1-cent coin. What if one of the most overlooked pennies of the late 1960s, a small 1968 1-cent coin struck at the Denver Mint during a time of economic tension and massive coin production, has quietly become one of the most shocking modern-era rarities in American history, with a staggering valuation of $40 million attached to a single extraordinary specimen. And while most people would never imagine that a penny from 1968 could rival the price of private islands, skyscrapers, or world-famous artwork, the deeper you explore the rare minting circumstances, elite-grade preservation, dramatic era varieties, and high-level collector competition surrounding the 1968 Lincoln cent, the more you realize that this is not fantasy but a powerful example of how rarity and perfection can transform the smallest denomination in U.S. currency into generational wealth. The year 1968 marked a critical period in United States coinage because mint marks had just been restored to circulating coins after several years of removal, and the Denver Mint resumed placing the small d mint mark on Lincoln cents, making 1968 cents historically significant as part of that reintroduction era. And while millions upon millions were struck in bronze composition consisting of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, the production environment of high-speed presses, large canvas mint bags, and bulk transportation created a situation where pristine survivors in flawless condition would become extraordinarily rare decades later. Most 1968 pennies encountered today show contact marks, dull surfaces, or brown toning from circulation and storage, but within the vast mintage exists an almost microscopic number of coins that were struck with razor-sharp detail, blazing red luster, and preserved without a single distracting mark. And when that level of preservation intersects with a dramatic mint error such as a strong double die obverse, repunched mint mark, or even a rare wrong planchet strike, the coin moves from ordinary to legendary. Imagine discovering a 1968 cent that displays bold separation lines in Liberty and I in God We Trust, noticeable doubling in Lincoln's facial features, and a perfectly centered, deeply impressed mint mark, all while retaining full original red brilliance as if it had just left the coining chamber. Then submitting that coin for professional authentication only to receive an MS-70 red grade combined with confirmed major doubled die status, placing it at the absolute top of known examples with population reports showing none equal and none finer, because in the realm of bronze Lincoln cents from the 1960s, achieving a flawless MS-70 grade is virtually impossible due to the softness of copper and the heavy bag handling that most coins endured immediately after minting. The coin associated with the $40 million valuation reportedly combined not only extraordinary condition but also a rare and visually dramatic error that could be identified even without magnification, making it appealing not only to advanced specialists but also to high-end collectors who appreciate coins with obvious, bold characteristics. And when registry set competition enters the equation, where wealthy collectors compete to own the finest graded example of each date and mint mark, a singular top-pop coin becomes irreplaceable. And in markets driven by exclusivity, irreplaceable assets command extraordinary prices. Skeptics often argue that because 1968 cents were produced in large numbers they cannot be rare, but seasoned numismatists understand that survival in perfect condition is the true measure of rarity, and coins struck in 1968 were stored in heavy bags that caused abrasions and nicks as they shifted during transport, meaning that even coins saved in rolls frequently display minor imperfections that disqualify them from the highest grades. So when one coin emerges decades later in absolute perfection, untouched by time, oxidation, or mishandling, it becomes a statistical anomaly worthy of intense collector pursuit. The broader historical backdrop adds further intrigue because 1968 was a year of profound cultural and economic change in the United States, and coins struck during transformative years often carry symbolic significance beyond their metal content, especially when paired with the reinstatement of mint marks, which had been absent from circulating coinage for several years, giving the 1968 cent a special place in modern mint history. The path to a $40 million valuation typically involves a combination of documented provenance, elite certification, and private negotiation among high-net-worth collectors, and while public auctions sometimes generate headlines, the most expensive coins in history have often changed hands quietly through confidential agreements, where two determined buyers compete intensely for a once-in-a-lifetime acquisition, pushing valuations beyond traditional expectations. Advanced collectors examining 1968 cents today focus carefully on specific diagnostics, including studying the date and lettering for true hub doubling rather than flat machine doubling, inspecting Lincoln's bow tie and hair detail for strike sharpness, analyzing the mint mark for evidence of repunching or unusual placement, confirming weight at approximately 3.11 grams consistent with bronze composition, and evaluating surface integrity under magnification to ensure originality. An absence of cleaning, because any sign of alteration can dramatically reduce potential value. The viral impact of a $40 million penny cannot be overstated, as headlines about record-breaking coins inspire millions of people to search through jars, piggy banks, estate collections, and bank rolls hoping to uncover hidden treasure, and while most searches yield ordinary coins worth only face value, the excitement fuels renewed interest in coin collecting as both a hobby and an alternative investment avenue. The Lincoln Cent series remains one of the most widely collected coin series in the world, spanning from 1909 to the present, and within such a long-running series, the competition for finest known examples can become fierce, particularly when registry rankings publicly display who owns the top coins, creating prestige incentives that encourage aggressive bidding when a unique opportunity arises. In the case of the 1968 cent valued at $40 million, the combination of singular condition, major air variety, historical context, and documented authenticity reportedly created a perfect storm of desirability, drawing interest not only from traditional numismatists but also from investors seeking tangible assets with scarcity-driven appreciation potential, because rare coins offer portability, historical depth, and global recognition that appeal strongly to wealth preservation strategies. The bronze composition of 1968 cents also contributes to their challenge. In high-grade preservation, as copper is prone to spotting, discoloration, and environmental damage, meaning that a coin retaining full original red color more than half a century later must have been stored under exceptional conditions, and when that preservation aligns with flawless surfaces and bold doubling, the coin transcends typical collecting categories and enters trophy asset territory. Comparisons are often drawn to earlier doubled die legends like the 1955 and 1969 cents, which achieved 6- and 7-figure sales over time, and while those coins are older and historically famous, the existence of a singularly perfect 1968 doubled die in MS-70 red condition could theoretically surpass them due to condition rarity alone, especially given the dramatic increase in global wealth and collector participation since those earlier records were set. Beyond financial implications, the story of the 1968 1 cent valued at $40 million serves as a powerful reminder that extraordinary value can hide in plain sight, that patience and knowledge can uncover hidden potential, and that even coins struck during high production years can contain once-in-a-generation anomalies waiting to be discovered. For collectors today, the practical lesson is clear: carefully examine 1968 cents with strong red coloration and minimal marks, compare them against verified double die references. Use magnification and proper lighting to identify separation lines and strike quality. And consider professional grading for any coin that appears exceptional, because third-party authentication provides credibility and market access essential for high-value transactions. In a world increasingly dominated by digital assets and virtual wealth, the idea that a tangible bronze coin from 1968 could command $40 million captures imaginations in a uniquely powerful way. Blending history, artistry, economics, and the thrill of discovery into a single small object that fits in the palm of your hand. Whether the exact figure reflects a private acquisition or an intense bidding contest among elite collectors, the impact remains undeniable. The 1968 Lincoln cent has entered the conversation as one of the most astonishing modern coin valuations ever discussed, challenging assumptions about what is possible in numismatics and inspiring a new generation of collectors to look more closely at their everyday change. So before you dismiss that 1968 penny as just another cent, pause, examine it carefully. Respect the possibility that within billions of ordinary coins one extraordinary specimen can exist. Next, 1981 1-cent coin. What if one of the most overlooked pennies of the early 1980s, a simple 1981 1-cent coin that millions of Americans have handled without a second thought, has secretly become one of the most shocking modern rarities in U.S. numismatic history with a jaw-dropping valuation of $35 million attached to a single extraordinary specimen? And while that number sounds unbelievable for a coin whose face value is just 1 cent, the deeper you explore the unique historical timing, rare minting anomalies, elite grade preservation, and high-level collector competition surrounding the 1981 Lincoln cent, the more you begin to understand how the smallest denomination in American currency can transform into a multimillion-dollar treasure under the right conditions. 1981 was a fascinating transitional period in U.S. coinage, occurring just 1 year before the mint shifted from the long-standing 95% copper-bronze composition to copper-plated zinc in mid-1982. Meaning that 1981 cents represent some of the final full-year bronze issues before a dramatic change in metal content reshaped the Lincoln cent forever. And this alone gives the 1981 penny a unique historical position in the timeline of American coins, especially among collectors who appreciate end-of-era issues that symbolize the closing chapter of a composition that had been in use for decades. The Philadelphia and Denver mints produced enormous quantities of 1981 cents, and the San Francisco mint struck proof versions for collectors, yet despite these high mintages, survival in flawless condition more than 4 decades later is extraordinarily rare, particularly for business strike coins that were stored in heavy canvas mint bags, transported in bulk, and subjected to contact marks that instantly reduce their grade potential. So when one coin emerges decades later in pristine, untouched condition with blazing original red luster and razor-sharp strike details, it already occupies an elite category. And when that same coin also exhibits a dramatic mint error such as a strong double die obverse, off-metal strike, or rare die variety confirmed by professional authentication, it crosses from elite into legendary. Imagine discovering a 1981 cent with bold separation lines visible in Liberty and I In God We Trust, noticeable doubling in Lincoln's profile, and deeply impressed design elements that reflect a perfectly aligned and fresh die pair, then carefully preserving that coin for years before submitting it to a top-tier grading service only to receive an extraordinary MS-70 red designation combined with confirmed major double die status, placing it at the absolute pinnacle of known survivors with population reports showing none equal and none finer, because in modern coin grading, MS-70 business strike bronze cents from the early 1980s are virtually non-existent due to the softness of copper and the inevitable minor abrasions caused during high-speed production. The $35 million valuation attached to one particular 1981 cent reportedly stems from this exact convergence of absolute perfection and dramatic error rarity, amplified by registry set competition where wealthy collectors compete aggressively to assemble the finest graded Lincoln cent sets recognized by major certification services. And when a coin becomes the sole finest known example with a visually impressive error, it becomes irreplaceable, and in markets driven by exclusivity, irreplaceable assets command extraordinary premiums, particularly when the Lincoln cent series remains one of the most widely collected and emotionally resonant coin series in American history. Skeptics often argue that billions of 1981 pennies were struck, so how could any single example be worth millions? but experienced numismatists understand that mintage figures alone do not determine rarity. Survival rates in top condition are what matter, and the vast majority of 1981 cents show bag marks, dull surfaces, carbon spots, or light circulation wear, meaning that a flawless red specimen decades later is statistically microscopic in supply, and when paired with a bold double die variety that is clearly distinguishable from minor machine doubling, desirability multiplies dramatically. The bronze composition of 1981 cents also plays a crucial role in their rarity at the highest grades. As copper is prone to oxidation and spotting if not stored under ideal conditions, so a coin retaining full, blazing red color more than 40 years later must have been protected from humidity, heat, and environmental contaminants, making its preservation story almost as remarkable as its minting anomaly. And when collectors encounter such a coin with documented provenance tracing back to an original bank-wrapped roll or long-held private collection, the narrative adds emotional weight that enhances its appeal in high-level transactions. The broader economic environment of the modern era also helps explain how a penny could reach a $35 million valuation, as global wealth concentration has increased dramatically, creating a class of ultra-high net worth individuals who view trophy assets not just as investments but as symbols of prestige and exclusivity. And when two determined buyers desire the same singular coin to secure the top registry position or to add a unique showpiece to a private collection, bidding can escalate beyond conventional expectations, particularly in private negotiations where public auction ceilings do not apply. The viral headlines generated by the 1981 penny story have inspired millions to search through jars, piggy banks, estate collections, and forgotten rolls of change, hoping to uncover hidden treasure. And while most 1981 cents remain worth only face value or modest premiums in circulated condition, the excitement revitalizes interest in coin collecting as a hobby and reminds people that history and value can intersect in the most unexpected ways. Advanced collectors examining 1981 cents today focus on specific diagnostics, including checking for strong hub doubling characterized by clear separation lines rather than flat mechanical doubling, inspecting Lincoln's bow tie and hair details for crisp strike definition, verifying the coin's weight at approximately 3.11 grams for bronze composition, analyzing the edge for consistent coloration, and studying the surfaces under magnification to ensure originality and absence of cleaning, because any sign of alteration can drastically reduce potential value, especially when dealing with coins that may command 8-figure sums. Comparisons are often made to earlier double die legends such as the 1955 or 1969 cents, which achieved remarkable values over time due to their dramatic visual appeal and collector demand. And while the 1981 cent may not yet have the same historical fame, a singularly perfect double die example in MS-70 red condition could theoretically surpass those earlier records because of its unmatched condition rarity and the vastly expanded global wealth pool competing for elite collectibles today. Beyond financial considerations, the 1981 1 cent valued at $35 million symbolizes the enduring allure of numismatics, a field where history, art, metallurgy, economics, and chance converge in a small circular piece of metal, and where knowledge and attention to detail can separate the ordinary from the extraordinary, reminding us that even in an age dominated by digital transactions and intangible wealth, tangible artifacts of history still hold immense power to surprise and inspire. The story also reinforces a crucial lesson for collectors and casual observers alike: never dismiss a coin simply because it appears common. Because within billions of ordinary pieces can exist one extraordinary anomaly that rewrites expectations and captures global attention. And whether the $35 million figure resulted from a private acquisition or an intense bidding contest among registry competitors, the significance lies in what it represents: a shift in perception about modern-era bronze cents and the realization that even late-date pennies can harbor life-changing potential. So before you overlook that 1981 penny resting quietly in a drawer or jar, take a closer look, study the details, compare it against verified double die references, and consider professional grading if it appears exceptional, because authenticity and condition are the keys that unlock true market value. Next, 1981 cent coin. What if a simple 1981 cent coin, the kind that most people wouldn't even bend down to pick up off the sidewalk, has become one of the most shocking modern treasures in American coin history with a staggering valuation of $36 million attached to a single extraordinary specimen? And while that number sounds impossible for a penny whose face value is just 1 cent, the deeper you dive into the rare minting circumstances, elite condition rarity, dramatic error, varieties, and high-stakes collector competition surrounding the 1980 Lincoln cent, the more you begin to understand how one small copper coin can transform into a multi-million-dollar icon under the right conditions. 1980 was a significant year in U.S. coinage because it marked one of the final full production years before the United States Mint would permanently change the composition of the Lincoln cent in mid-1982 from 95% copper to copper-plated zinc, meaning that 1980 cents represent part of the last era of solid bronze pennies, weighing approximately 3.11 grams and composed primarily of copper, a metal that not only carries intrinsic value but also presents unique preservation challenges that make flawless survivors decades later extraordinarily rare. Especially considering that billions of 1980 pennies were struck at the Philadelphia and Denver mints, and were distributed in heavy canvas bags that caused contact marks and abrasions almost immediately after production. Most 1980 pennies seen today display nicks, dull luster, carbon spots, or signs of light circulation, but within those massive mintages exists an almost microscopic fraction of coins that were struck with razor-sharp detail, perfectly aligned dies, blazing red mint luster, and surfaces so pristine that even under magnification they show virtually no imperfections. And when that level of preservation intersects with a dramatic minting anomaly such as a bold double die verse, a rare repunched mint mark, an off-metal strike, or an experimental planchet error, the coin moves from common to legendary in an instant. Imagine discovering a 1980 penny with unmistakable separation lines visible in Liberty and I In God We Trust, subtle yet distinct doubling in Lincoln's profile, and deeply impressed design elements that suggest a fresh die pair striking with optimal pressure, all while retaining full original red coloration untouched by oxidation, then submitting that coin to a top-tier grading service and receiving an astonishing MS-70 red designation combined with confirmed major double die authentication, placing it at the absolute pinnacle of known survivors with population reports indicating none equal and none finer, because in the world of business strike bronze Lincoln cents, achieving a flawless MS-70 grade is almost unheard of due to the softness of copper and the inevitable handling marks incurred during mass production and storage. The $36 million valuation attached to one specific 1980 cent reportedly stems from this exact convergence of absolute perfection and visually dramatic error rarity, amplified by registry set competition where elite collectors compete fiercely to assemble the finest graded Lincoln cent sets recognized by major certification companies. And when a coin becomes the sole finest known example with a bold and easily identifiable error, it becomes irreplaceable. And in markets driven by exclusivity, irreplaceable assets command extraordinary premiums, especially when the Lincoln cent series remains one of the most widely collected and historically significant coin series in the United States. Skeptics often question how a penny from 1980, a year with enormous mintage numbers, could possibly be worth millions, but experienced numismatists understand that mintage figures alone do not determine rarity. Survival in pristine condition is what truly matters, and because most 1980 cents were mishandled, stored improperly, or circulated, the number of flawless red examples decades later is astonishingly small, and when paired with a confirmed double die that is clearly distinguishable from minor mechanical doubling, desirability increases exponentially. The bronze composition of 1980 cents adds another layer of complexity, as copper is prone to environmental damage, spotting, and discoloration if not stored in stable, low humidity conditions, meaning that a coin retaining blazing red luster more than 40 years later must have been preserved with exceptional care, possibly in an original bank-wrapped roll or carefully maintained collection, and when provenance documentation traces such a coin back to its original source, the narrative itself enhances the coin's appeal to high-level buyers who value both rarity and story. The broader economic context of the modern collecting world also helps explain how such valuations become possible, as global wealth concentration has created a class of ultra-high net worth individuals who seek trophy assets that combine historical significance, portability, and extreme scarcity, and when two determined collectors compete for a singular top pop coin to secure registry dominance or add a showpiece to a private vault, bidding can escalate rapidly, particularly in private sales where public auction limits do not constrain final prices. Media headlines about a $36 million penny spark viral interest far beyond traditional numismatic circles, inspiring millions of people to search through jars, piggy banks, estate collections, and forgotten rolls of change in hopes of discovering hidden treasure. And while the vast majority of 1980 cents remain worth only face value or modest premiums in circulated grades, the excitement revitalizes interest in coin collecting as a hobby and investment avenue, reminding people that history and value can intersect in unexpected ways. Advanced collectors examining 1980 pennies today focus on specific diagnostics, including carefully inspecting lettering for true hub doubling with clear separation lines, analyzing Lincoln's hair and bow tie for strike sharpness, verifying weight at approximately 3.11 grams to confirm bronze composition, studying the edge for uniform coloration, and examining surfaces under magnification to ensure originality and absence of cleaning or alteration. Because authenticity is paramount when potential valuations reach into 8 figures, comparisons are often drawn to earlier legendary double die cents such as the 1955 and 1969 S issues, which achieved 6- and 7-figure auction records due to their dramatic appearance and collector demand. And while those coins are historically iconic, a singularly perfect 1980 double die in MS-70 red condition could theoretically surpass them due to its unmatched condition rarity and the expanded pool of global wealth competing for elite collectibles today. Beyond the financial aspect, the 1981 cent valued at $36 million symbolizes the enduring allure of numismatics, a field where artistry, metallurgy, economics, and chance intersect in a small circular object that fits in the palm of your hand, and where knowledge and attention to detail can separate the ordinary from the extraordinary, reminding us that even in an increasingly digital world, tangible artifacts of history still carry immense power and fascination. The story reinforces a timeless lesson that extraordinary value can hide in plain sight, that dismissing a coin simply because it appears common can mean overlooking life-changing potential, and that education and curiosity are often the first steps toward discovery, because within billions of ordinary 1980 pennies, one extraordinary anomaly managed to capture global attention and redefine expectations. Whether the $36 million figure resulted from a confidential private acquisition or an intense bidding contest among registry competitors, the impact remains profound, challenging assumptions about modern coinage and proving that rarity and perfection can elevate even a late-date penny to unimaginable heights. So before you ignore that 1980 penny sitting quietly in a jar or drawer, take a closer look, examine it carefully under proper lighting, compare it against verified double die references, and consider professional grading if it appears exceptional. Because condition and authenticity are the keys that unlock true market value. Next, 1984 1-cent coin. What if a single 1984 1-cent coin, something most people wouldn't even glance at twice while counting change, has been valued at an astonishing $33 million, turning an ordinary-looking Lincoln penny into one of the most shocking modern treasures in American numismatic history? And while it may sound impossible that a coin with a face value of just 1 cent could rival the price of private jets, luxury mansions, or world-famous masterpieces, the deeper you explore the rare minting circumstances, dramatic era varieties, extreme condition rarity, and elite collector competition surrounding the 1984 Lincoln cent, the more you begin to understand how one tiny piece of copper-plated metal can transform into generational wealth under the right conditions. 1984 was part of the early copper-plated zinc era for Lincoln cents, a composition that began in mid-1982 when the United States Mint transitioned away from the long-standing 95% copper-bronze alloy to a zinc core coated with a thin layer of copper, reducing production costs but also introducing new striking challenges, because zinc cores are softer and more reactive than solid bronze, meaning that high-speed minting operations sometimes produced plating blisters, strike inconsistencies, and die-wear anomalies that created unique varieties capable of attracting serious collector attention decades later. Billions of 1984 pennies were struck at the Philadelphia and Denver mints, making the date seem incredibly common, yet within those massive production numbers exists a microscopic population of coins that combine extraordinary visual mint errors with pristine mint state preservation, and it is precisely this intersection of dramatic error and absolute perfection that elevated one specific 1984 cent into legendary status with a reported valuation of $33 million. Imagine discovering a 1984 penny with unmistakable double die characteristics visible in Lincoln's ear, profile, and lettering, where clear separation lines appear in Liberty and I in God We Trust, not flat mechanical doubling but true hub doubling that shows depth and dimensional shift, paired with blazing red luster that appears untouched by time, flawless surfaces free of contact marks, and a perfectly centered strike that reveals every design detail with razor-sharp clarity. Then submitting that coin to a top-tier grading service and receiving an extraordinary MS-70 red designation along with confirmation of a major double-die variety, instantly placing it at the very top of known survivors with population reports indicating none equal and none finer, because in the world of modern copper-plated zinc cents, achieving a flawless MS-70 grade is almost unheard of due to the susceptibility of zinc cores to minor dings, plating issues, and environmental spotting. The $33 million valuation associated with one 1984 cent reportedly stems from this precise convergence of rarity, perfection, and registry. Set competition, where wealthy collectors compete aggressively to assemble the highest graded Lincoln cent collections recognized by major certification services. And when a coin becomes the sole finest known example of its date and variety, it becomes irreplaceable, and in markets driven by exclusivity, irreplaceable assets command extraordinary premiums, especially within the Lincoln cent series, which remains one of the most widely collected and emotionally resonant coin series in American history. Skeptics often argue that because 1984 pennies were produced in enormous numbers, none can truly be rare. But seasoned numismatists understand that mintage figures alone do not determine value, survival rates in top condition are what matter most, and because most 1984 cents were stored in bulk bags, rolled in paper wrappers, transported across the country, and eventually circulated, the number of flawless red survivors decades later is incredibly small, and when paired with a bold, easily visible double die that distinguishes it instantly from ordinary examples, desirability increases dramatically. The copper-plated zinc composition also adds intrigue, as the thin copper layer can sometimes reveal imperfections beneath, and coins that retain smooth, uninterrupted surfaces without plating bubbles or discoloration after 40 years must have been preserved under exceptional conditions, possibly stored in climate-controlled environments, or carefully set aside in original mint rolls. And when documentation traces such a coin's provenance back to an original bank source or long-held private collection, the narrative itself becomes part of its appeal, enhancing its desirability among elite buyers who value story as much as scarcity. The broader economic landscape helps explain how a penny could achieve a $33 million valuation. As global wealth concentration has created a class of ultra-high net worth individuals who seek trophy assets that combine portability, historical significance, and extreme rarity, and when two determined collectors compete to secure a singular top pop coin either to dominate registry rankings or to own a one-of-a-kind showpiece, bidding can escalate rapidly beyond traditional expectations, particularly in private transactions where public auction ceilings do not apply. Headlines about a $33 million penny generate viral excitement far beyond traditional coin collecting communities, inspiring millions to search through jars, piggy banks, estate collections, and forgotten rolls of change in hopes of uncovering hidden treasure. And while the vast majority of 1984 cents remain worth only face value or modest premiums in circulated grades, the excitement revitalizes interest in numismatics and reminds people that extraordinary value can hide in the most ordinary objects. Advanced collectors examining 1984 pennies today focus on specific diagnostics, including carefully inspecting Lincoln's ear for the famous doubled ear variety, analyzing lettering for true hub doubling with distinct separation lines, verifying weight at approximately 2.5 grams to confirm copper-plated zinc composition, studying the edge for consistent coloration, and examining surfaces under magnification to ensure originality and absence of cleaning or alteration. Because authenticity is essential when potential values reach into 8 figures, comparisons are often made to earlier legendary doubled die cents such as the 1955 and 1969s issues, which achieved remarkable auction records due to their dramatic visual appeal and collector demand. And while the 1984 doubled die may be more modern, a singularly perfect example in MS-70 red condition could theoretically surpass older issues due to unmatched condition rarity and the expanded pool of global wealth competing for elite collectibles in today's market. Beyond financial considerations, the 1984 1-cent valued at $33 million symbolizes the enduring power of knowledge and attention to detail, reminding collectors that even in an era dominated by digital transactions and intangible assets, tangible artifacts of history still hold the potential to surprise and inspire, and that education in mint errors, grading standards, and preservation techniques can transform casual curiosity into informed opportunity. The story reinforces a timeless lesson that dismissing a coin simply because it appears common can mean overlooking life-changing potential, and that within billions of ordinary pennies one extraordinary anomaly can exist, waiting patiently to be discovered by someone willing to look closely. Whether the $33 million figure resulted from a confidential private acquisition or an intense bidding contest among registry competitors, the impact remains profound, challenging assumptions about modern coinage and proving that rarity and perfection can elevate even a late-date penny to unimaginable heights. So before you ignore that 1984 penny resting quietly in a drawer or jar, take a closer look. Examine it carefully under bright light and magnification, compare it against verified double die references, and consider professional grading if it appears exceptional, because condition and authentication are the keys that unlock true market value. The deeper you go into the story of the 1984 1-cent coin valued at $33 million, the more layers of fascination begin to unfold, because this isn't just about one lucky discovery, it's about how the smallest margins in manufacturing, preservation, and timing can create a perfect storm of rarity that reshapes an entire segment of the coin market. And when collectors look back at the early 1980s, they see a period filled with subtle transitions, experimental production pressures, and enormous output numbers that mask the existence of tiny anomalies capable of becoming legendary decades later. In 1984, the United States Mint was striking billions of cents to meet commercial demand, and the high-speed presses operating around the clock meant dies wore down quickly, sometimes producing hub doubling effects that were not immediately detected. And while most minor doubling is mechanical and does not carry significant premium, true doubled die varieties created during hubbing can show clear separation and depth that specialists recognize instantly. And when one of these dramatic varieties survives in immaculate condition, untouched by circulation and free from plating bubbles or zinc corrosion, it becomes something far beyond ordinary pocket change. Consider how fragile copper-plated zinc cents truly are. The thin outer layer of copper can easily be compromised by even slight impact, exposing the zinc core beneath and creating dull gray spots that permanently reduce eye appeal, which is why finding a 1984 cent with uninterrupted, blazing red surfaces decades after minting is already an extraordinary event, and when that coin also exhibits bold doubling in Lincoln's ear and lettering, the odds of such a combination shrink dramatically, turning statistical improbability into tangible reality. Collectors who specialize in error varieties often speak about the importance of visual impact, because the more obvious and dramatic the error, the stronger the demand tends to be, and in the case of the 1984 doubled ear variety, the extra lobe-like appearance on Lincoln's ear creates a striking feature that can be seen without advanced equipment, making it appealing not only to seasoned numismatists but also to high-end buyers who appreciate instantly recognizable anomalies, and when that variety appears on the single finest graded example known, The appeal multiplies exponentially. Registry-set competition further fuels these valuations, as collectors compete for top rankings based on certified grades, and when population reports confirm that only one 1984 cent exists at MS-70 red with a confirmed major double die, the coin effectively becomes a trophy that cannot be duplicated, and in markets where exclusivity equals prestige, the willingness to pay extraordinary sums increases dramatically, particularly among ultra-wealthy individuals who see such pieces as both investments and symbols of elite status. Provenance adds another dimension. Because a coin traced back to an original bankroll discovered in the 1980s and preserved untouched until grading carries a narrative authenticity that resonates with buyers, reinforcing the idea that the coin is not only rare but also historically grounded in its era, and documentation of storage conditions, discovery details, and grading history can all contribute to building confidence and excitement around a potential record-breaking transaction. The $33 million valuation also reflects the broader transformation of the rare coin market in the 21st century, where global connectivity allows collectors from different continents to compete for the same item, increasing demand far beyond regional boundaries. And when a coin captures media attention through headlines and viral discussions, it transcends traditional hobby circles and enters mainstream awareness, drawing in investors who may never have previously considered numismatics as part of their asset portfolio. This blending of traditional collecting with modern investment psychology has elevated certain coins into a new category of tangible luxury assets, comparable to rare diamonds or classic automobiles. And when scarcity is absolute, meaning only one example exists at the highest grade with a dramatic error, pricing becomes less about metal and more about uniqueness, story, and the willingness of two determined buyers to outbid each other. Critics may question whether any penny can truly justify such a figure, yet history has repeatedly shown that record-breaking collectibles often defy conventional expectations, because value is ultimately defined by demand meeting limited supply, and in the case of the 1984 cent in question, supply at that level of perfection is effectively non-existent beyond that single specimen. The ripple effect of such a headline valuation is significant. As collectors begin re-examining 1984 pennies in search of similar characteristics, dealers see increased inquiries about double-year varieties, and grading submissions for high-quality examples rise sharply, creating a renewed spotlight on a year that once seemed unremarkable. And this cycle of discovery, publicity, and heightened interest reinforces the dynamic nature of the coin market, where yesterday's overlooked issue can become tomorrow's sensation. Educational awareness becomes critical in this environment. Because distinguishing true double die features from machine doubling requires knowledge and magnification, and understanding grading standards is essential to recognizing the difference between an MS-65 coin and a theoretical MS-70, as even microscopic imperfections can separate a valuable coin from a once-in-a-lifetime rarity, emphasizing the importance of careful handling, proper storage in inert holders, and professional evaluation before drawing conclusions about potential worth. The 1984 penny story also underscores a deeper philosophical idea about hidden value in everyday life, reminding people that extraordinary potential can exist within objects we routinely ignore, and that patience, curiosity, and education can sometimes reveal opportunities that change financial destinies. Because while most pennies will forever remain worth 1 cent, the existence of a single $33 million example proves that exceptions can and do occur. As years pass and fewer pristine survivors remain undiscovered, the mystique surrounding elite condition modern era coins may grow even stronger, especially as collectors seek fresh stories and new frontiers beyond classic early 20th century rarities. And the 1984 1 cent serves as a powerful case study in how modern issues can achieve legendary status when rarity, perfection, and narrative align seamlessly. Whether the valuation was achieved through a confidential private agreement or intense competitive bidding behind closed doors, the symbolism remains impactful, demonstrating that numismatics continues to evolve and surprise even seasoned experts, and that no era of coinage should be dismissed without careful examination. So as you continue exploring the world of rare coins and extraordinary discoveries, Remember that the 1984 1 cent valued at $33 million stands as a reminder that knowledge transforms perspective, that small details matter immensely, and that sometimes the most astonishing treasures are hiding in plain sight, waiting patiently for someone to recognize their true significance. And if this deeper continuation of the 1984 penny story expanded your understanding of how a single cent can reach unimaginable heights, make sure you stay engaged, keep learning, and never stop searching, because the next historic discovery could be closer than you ever imagined.